Senate passes 2022 appropriation bill. President Muhammadu Buhari launches National Development Plan. Asia stocks mostly rise as investors assess Omicron variant risks. Plus, oil climbs on weaker dollar amid Omicron caution. This is Business Express reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Benny Adams, your guide. Compliments of the season and welcome to the business side of life. We start by telling you that Senate has passed the 2022 budget of 17.1 trillion naira, an increment from the 16.3 presented by the executive. This followed consideration of the report of the Senate Committee on Appropriations, which explained that the National Assembly increased the oil price benchmark from 57 United States dollars to $62 to reflect the current market value in the international market. The budget is also based on oil production of 1.88 million barrels per day, exchange rate of 410 naira 15 kobo to a dollar, gross domestic products of 4.2% and inflation rate of 13%.
Made by the city arm of government to take care of some projects of national importance which were not provided in the submitted budget estimate and could not be covered by the increase in revenue.
These are great achievements that this Senate promised to Nigerians that will do them because they are fundamental and strong pillars of our legislative agenda. Today, by the grace of God, we have passed the budget for 2022. And that is a huge, very big milestone, very historic. And this is something that we are supposed to ensure that as long as we are in this Senate, after our tenure, that we pass the budgets as regularly as we have established. Electoral amendment bill, but we know that there are some reservations raised by Mr. President, and we have stood down, work on it, to await when we will convene together with our colleagues from the House of Representatives so that we look at the issues raised, and then as a National Assembly, we address the situation.
It also approved President Muhammadu Buhari's request for environment of 276.7 billion naira for the funding of critical infrastructure in the 2021 budget. Meanwhile, Senate resolved to address the issues raised by the President on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill by January after consultations with the House of Representatives and constituents. The new National Development Plan 2021 to 2025 has been formally launched and presented to the public. It replaces the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan 2017 to 2020, which assisted Nigeria to exit recession in 2017 and sustained modest growth in the economy until the global financial meltdown occasioned by COVID-19. President Muhammadu Buhari performed the ceremony before meeting of the Federal Executive Council. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
The new National Development Plan 2021 to 2025 brings together all economic initiatives of the Buhari administration and sets out comprehensive strategies for increasing Nigeria's national productivity and output towards achieving a prosperous economy. President Muhammadu Buhari did not speak at the launch, but as the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed explains lessons from the previous Vision 2020 and ERGP guided the development of the new National Development Plan.
The plan seeks to invest massively in infrastructure, ensure macroeconomic stability, enhance the investment environment, improve on social indicators and living conditions, tackle climate change mitigation, adaptation and resilience strategies, amongst others.
The new National Development Plan has, amongst other pillars, coherent policy trust, realistic macroeconomic framework, prioritized and sequenced lists of programs and projects to drive annual budgets, as well as robust framework to ensure effective implementation.
It is very important to note that the plan is a pointer to the type of Nigeria we all desire and encourage the use of science and technology and innovation to drive growth. I want to place on record that this plan is sufficiently comprehensive with the capacity to attain various regional and global agendas, including the AU Agenda 2063, the ECOWAS Integration Agenda 2050, and the Sustainable Development Goals 2030.
And in order to have the future that all Nigerians desire, the plan is also developed to play a sizable role in what the minister called the product complexity space internationally, and adopts measures to ease in constraints that have hindered the economy from attaining its potentials.
The plan provides for the implementation of major infrastructure and other development projects across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country and the opening up of opportunities in the rural areas to ensure balanced development and increase competitiveness.
This government, more than any other, have taken deliberate, active steps to include all economic groups and support them more than has ever been done in order that they achieve their economic objectives, in order that the country's economy continue to provide for all and we witness more prosperity. I'm sure all of us in the 36 states and FCT are very, very happy, and we appreciate both the president and the vice president, because under them states have been given the pride of place.
The federal government, in line with its determination to diversify the nation's economy through the formulation of favorable policies, provisions of technical support, creation of a business-friendly environment, and provision of incentives to attract more investment, has commissioned a $73 million infrastructure intervention to drive development and accelerate the growth of the sugar subsector. Speaking at the formal commissioning of the Sugar Infrastructure Intervention Program, President Muhammadu Buhari said the goal of the intervention is to support the development of irrigation infrastructure on 10,000 acres of sugar plantations located in 6 BPI sites, namely Numan in Adamawa State, Sunti in Niger State, Lafiaji in Kwara State, Basita in Kwara State, as well as Toto and Tunga in Nasarawa State. President Buhari, who was represented by Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Niyi Adebayo, further stated that the aim of the intervention is to significantly improve the country's performance on sugarcane yields, as well as to reduce the negative impact of COVID-19 on the industry's progress in achieving self-sufficiency. And prices of consumable goods, foodstuff and other items have continued to increase despite the drive by federal government to boost food sufficiency through agricultural development. Benny Achibong was at the market to assess the situation ahead of the festive season and reports that business owners and consumers are attributing the current trend of inflation to a hike in transport fare, as well as other factors that buyers possibly are at the receiving end.
Every putting forward is tax liabilities to the person who is supposed to collect it, FRS, and we are dedicating it to these rules that have been awarded, some of them over 10 years.
The price of food and other essential commodities are surging in the midst of a third wave of COVID-19 as the price of key staples such as rice, garri beans, and others are soaring high due to several factors: unfavorable climate conditions as well as transport and road constraints.
You will go to market today, you will hear another price. By the time you go again, it's ×2.
These are some of the concerns of traders.
A very greatest surprise, being that they used to say it's prisoner that used to eat beans. Beans now is 1 cup 150 naira. How can have 5 children be able to afford beans of 150 a cup?
Even palm oil that we do produce ourselves, you cannot see palm oil for 200 naira again. Before you can get a palm oil nan is 500, 400.
Now garri is 7,500 for a basin. And the measurement is 4 cups. Now, why it's supposed to be 5 cups?
As the cost of most foodstuffs continue to increase, the question that comes to mind is, how do people fit well without compromising quality, flavor, or nutrition?
Every day, government come here to collect ticket and some tax, but they never one day come to shops to ask us how much you need to support your business.
Please, we are open and we are believing on the government that they should try and intervene. Firstly, we are hearing about this Calabar-Itu road that is very bad. It's also affecting the transportation is high.
People are dying. Masses are dying. Let the government look into it and come to rescue the people.
Business operators and consumers are appealing to appropriate government authorities to bring out and implement policies to change the narrative and make life meaningful for the people.
Well, that's the report on market situation in Calabar. And moving on, 3 days to Christmas, and Business Express Market Survey found out prices of some food items at the popular Karu, Nyanya, and Mararaba markets. Revelations show that although prices are relatively high, they are slightly lower than the same period last year. Here is a graphic summary of some major commodities. Well, now joining me to talk on commodity prices as the Christmas draws nearer is agriculture commodity analyst and publisher, Food Farm News, Mr. Ayeni Oladeinde. Mr. Oladeinde, you're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you so much.
Well, it's 3 days to Christmas, and we hear people on the streets complaining of slight changes in prices, particularly rice and oil, vegetable oil, groundnut oil, palm oil, the oils that go with the season. Why is it always like that? Is it a matter of demand and supply, or something else is attributable to this?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. You have slightly answered the question yourself.
Okay.
You say forces of demand and supply. If something is the usual occurrence, then you ask the question. And what's the question? The layman, the language a layman understands about market forces is when people are rushing to the market to come and be buying. So drives their prices. So the forces of demand and supply are what is coming into play here. And it has been the usual occurrence every festive period. This year is not a different.
But there are other commodities like beans, yam, and maize. They are not a usual rush during the festive seasons, but their prices are still on the increase. And again, It's harvest period. Shouldn't, talking about the forces of demand and supply, there is more supply to these particular commodities. So why are the prices not down?
Yeah, it depends. I wouldn't know much of the research to give you that assertion that, you know, there is more supply. When you look at...
No, more supply as a result of harvest.
Yeah, I'm going to that.
Okay.
You see, when you look at what the nation has experienced, or the world at large, in view of COVID and what's going insecurity of water or what have you, you can't really, you know, come with that full assertion that you have bumper harvest. You can't come to that. So in view of that, couple the rushing of people to market, definitely drive the price to shoot up. That is my own thinking. Do you understand? This is a simple economics. And, you know, the mind, when the demand is high, is a simple economics argument that the price will go up. People will cash on that. It's always like that. Except you have excess, surplus, that you have no high place than to push it out, or if you don't push it out, it gets spoiled. But as long as people rush and go and buy, they capitalize on that. It's a usual thing. So it means that what do we do if we want to change the narrative?
Okay, talking about solution to changing the narrative now, I want to ask that, aside the forces of demand and supply which affects the prices, there is this issue of middlemen who come in between the farmer and you, the consumer. Don't you think that also affects prices?
Yeah, definitely. You know, let me still correct one assertion too. You see, these middlemen, they are still part of value chain.
Sure.
They are still part of value chain in every production. Okay, look at the situation. You have a rice in your farm. The road is bad. In view of security, some people cannot take the risk of going there and pick it. Then few elements come up, take the bull by the horn as middlemen, and they go and evacuate all this material to the point of need. I call it logistic. Moving a good from point A to point P. Do you understand? And you can't expect such risk to go without compensation. Let's be realistic. You know, it is when we look at issue in a very scientific way, we begin to say, okay, what do we do? Why do we make accessibility to all these produce to be as easier? The aggregators, what do you do about them? Do you understand? But
talking about the aggregators, looking at the complete value chain, from the farmer to the middleman to the person in the market to the final consumer, how can all of these aggregators in the value chain do the right thing? How can we get them to not affect the price to a rise, but stability?
Good. Take, for example, if we have a more secured environment, where me and you can decide to go, I want to go to the source of this and bring it out to my table. Do you understand? But as long as you don't put good road in place, you don't put security as priority to business, you don't put research that will give on a very small space of land that you have 40 tons of rice on a particular hectare. If all these logistics are not synchronized and put in place, we continue begging the question.
Okay, as we look forward to proper infrastructure, talking about the right roads, access to the roads, and secured environment, and improved yield, as well as deployment of technology to ensure we have food sufficiency. With the fears we're experiencing now, little hike up and down, what do you see going into the new year? Are things going to stabilize, or the fears are going to continue?
Well, naturally, the rush by January, that rush would have, of course, stepped down. If you are not careful, you don't plan what you have now, you wouldn't even have the disposable income to go to market by January. And the moment the rush to market, they understand, reduce, is a simple analysis. Somebody comes to you, you have fewer people rushing to buy things. You will bring down the price to make the reality of your own basic needs too. So it's a naturality. But ordinarily, when we're talking of sufficiency, a lot of things has to come, in place. Policy must, apart from policy, there must be that desire of every stakeholder to drive it.
So you see, adequate planning is the way to go.
Yes.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Ayeni Ola, for sharing your thoughts with us at this particular point in time.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure having me here.
Moving on, next is the global commodities market. And now Asia stocks mostly rise as investors assess Omicron variant risks. Travel stocks in Singapore fall. Bossy Abel brings us up to speed.
Hello and welcome to the Global Market Review. Now, investors are juggling the rapid spread of the Omicron variant and the introduction of containment measured by governments around the world. However, global markets have endured a volatile week thus far. European markets were little change on Wednesday as investors continue to monitor the threat posed by the Omicron COVID-19 variants. DAX and CAC were on the positive note, while London FTSE dipped 0.02%. Shares in Asia were mostly higher in Wednesday's trade as investors continue to assess the impact of Omicron COVID variants. Hong Kong Hang Seng Index gained 0.57% across 23,100 and 2.33. Nikkei also topped 0.16% at 28,562.21, while Shanghai Composite dipped 0.07% to close 3,622.62. Now, U.S. stock futures were muted early Wednesday after the major averages rebounded from a three-day losing streak. Dow Jones Industrial Average Futures hovered 0.05% lower. Same with the S&P 500 and Nasdaq Composite. While African markets have pulled positive strings in Wednesday's trading after rebounding from losses in Tuesday's trade, as investors sustain positive sentiment over the Omicron COVID-19 containment. That's the Global Market Review. I am Bossede Abel.
Market update, we end this edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on ATS channel.